So I'm back with the second video in this series, the astrology of 2023, specifically the outer planets, what they're going to be doing in 2023, and how to just contextualize the year just simply by looking at some of those major outer planet configurations. So this is the second video in a two-part series. Check out the first video if you haven't seen it yet. The link will be right up here. And enjoy the rest of your week and weekend. Next transit I'd like to look at is the 18 May transit, where you have very quickly after Jupiter comes into Taurus, so only 2 days later, Jupiter will square Pluto. And this is something that is Jupiter, you can think about it with these outer planets, it's like the second hand. It just moves really, really fast. It's the fastest moving of all of these points. And Ceres is faster moving actually, but I have it in my software. I like to always include it as a habit, but Jupiter moves faster than slower than Ceres. Anyhow, I'm getting lost here. But Jupiter's kind of like the second hand, and Jupiter will trigger the longest point of these planets other than Eris. Jupiter, so it's kind of like the second hand meeting the hour hand in a way. I think it will, it makes it even more important, this first little period of Pluto in Aquarius, to have Jupiter trigger it like this. I think we're going to get a major preview in 2023. I'm thinking about things like central bank digital currencies, all kinds of, expansions with AI is really what I'm interested in right now. I'm seeing the power of AI, how fast it's developed in 2022. Isn't it amazing? With like the generation of imagery and the generation of video and words that AI can do. It's very advanced and it's happening very, very fast. Social media as well. I need to bring that in here. Aquarius is media, social media, the structures of media in the society. I think we're set to continue to undergo major social media upheavals. The Twitter fiasco is still unfolding. I really expect by this time next year, like by May, really March, because the Mars retrograde ends, you're going to have a better sense of maybe where you want to be, what platforms you want to be on. A lot of that may be settled. That shakeup may be temporary, some of it. Okay, I'm going to keep pushing, but there will be hints of the future, right? Hints of the 20-year future with Jupiter, planet of truth, wisdom, and a lifting of the veil, hitting Pluto and Aquarius via square. Maybe we're going to have, previews. Read these journals like MIT Technology Review and other futurist journals. They very much give previews of what the future is, and sometimes in a very accurate way, because it's power players that write in those journals. Okay, let me keep pushing. The only thing I wanted to say here is that the Jupiter-Pluto square cycle, it's kind of rare in these signs. There was one in 1288, and then there was one in 1537. The 1537 one interests me because that was right after the birth, the so-called, or the arrival of the colonial powers from Europe into the Americas. And if you think about the internet as a colonial force, we're in the kind of 45 years after the birth of the kind of colonial internet technology. If you really trace it, I'm tracing it to 1980 because that's when the age of air begins and the personal computer kind of takes over. People start buying those computers for their homes, those personal computers. So we're kind of there on that cycle. And I just think about that the digitization in the internet is kind of the great colonizing force of our age. So anyhow, that's a connection. That was a 9 degrees, Jupiter, 9 degrees, Aquarius, Pluto, and Jupiter in Taurus. And that was 9 degrees. That was the last time it was in this decan. Okay, let's keep going. Move fast. I don't want to take up too much of your time. 18 May, this is the chart we were just looking at. Let me press on. So here's the next chart. 2nd June, Jupiter will conjoin the true north node in Taurus shortly after that square with Pluto. So this 3-week period, Jupiter enters Taurus, squares Pluto, and conjoins the north node, the node of fate, right? The node of expansion. It's the fatedness that can be expansive and can grow things, maybe sometimes in an unstable way, the increase of the appetite. I think that this 3-week period might come off as being overwhelming. I mean, you're going to have a major dose of Jupiter and the North Node, in the sign of pleasure, and these are expansive energies. You may want to, maybe we're coming out now of a winter, and this is just going to get real. Maybe a lot of buoyancy with Saturn and Pisces. This is kind of it'll be the first summer with Saturn and Pisces. maybe people, watch your alcohol and drug use. I've been talking about drugs now twice in this video, but that's certainly a side of Taurus where we get lost in pleasures. That may be one of the risks here of this moment here, and as summer starts beginning, as spring gives way to summer. The fun that we're going to have, right? But sometimes that fun needs to be modulated with other energies and other seriousness. None of these traditional planets are going to be in signs of stability, in terms of the nodes, and then Jupiter and Saturn. They're going to be in signs of more internal states. And so I think that could be risky. And by the way, I'll say this here, I'm just going through a high level outer planet review. I mean, every moment, every month is its own little world of astrology. And there's always other stories and activations happening. I don't even have the other planets here because I want to just focus on these topics. But we're here in June. That means this is Gemini season, and the sun will be here. That will be nice, maybe to help modulate some of these more pleasure oriented placements. Okay, let me keep shifting. I don't want to get too lost. So this was interesting. The last time that Jupiter and the North Node met in Taurus, 6 May 1929. And that's this theme of overexuberance, right? This was the spring and summer before the market crash in October, where you still had the idea that the markets will never fall, right? The Roaring '20s was in its final little moment here with Jupiter conjoining the North Node. And this is a history project. I'm just giving some real high level stuff here. This could be a whole history project of the nodes, the North Node with Jupiter and Taurus, because there's many more cycles back in history. And I wonder maybe if things might feel a little, we're on this could be the last, like a summer of enjoyment. Seeing this, I think you might want to consider using the Venusian from Taurus and Pisces, where Saturn and Jupiter are, and just kind of really enjoy the sensuality of this summer and the pleasures of this summer, because the astrology is crazy. It's crazy in 2024, 2025, and 2026. A lot of upheaval could happen as all these outer planets change signs. This feels like a particularly nice pocket of pleasure and enjoyment here, summer 2023. Okay, let me keep pushing to June 2023. We will see the arrival of, this is the same chart. Okay, I included both of these charts twice if I wanted to talk more about some of the configurations, but I don't want to say anything more. Let me skip here, 11 June 2023. This is the regress of Pluto back into Capricorn. And so now we're set with all of the planets now in the signs they'll be in for the rest of the year, except for the hypothetical points that are the nodes. They're not hypothetical, they're mathematical points that there's no bodies there. They're just two paths that cross the ecliptic and the lunar path. Those nodes will not have shifted yet. The only thing I'll say about Pluto coming back to Capricorn is just we're not done with Pluto and Capricorn. We have a whole nother year and a half after this to figure it out, to kind of put resolution to whatever that has been. The America Pluto return does not end by sign, right? It comes back here. So we're kind of transitioning, going back and forth over this border. And it's just worth keeping in mind for anybody that has, placements very close to Pluto, particularly in these late cardinals. That's how I use Pluto, by the way, like a fixed star. You're not done with it. Okay, let me keep going. This is the next major aspect I wanted to point out. It's the only sextile of Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter from Taurus, Saturn from Pisces, the only one that'll happen. It happens in June 2023. And this is why I think it's like peak pleasure in terms of the two great planets, the two great traditional planets. Saturn being received by Jupiter, its domicile ruler, and they're both in signs where Venus plays a major role. By this time, Venus will actually be in Leo, where it's going to have a long retrograde, not within the scope of this video, but I think it has to do with how the nature of that summer, right? I'll do a whole bunch of Venus retrograde videos, or at least one major one. Still, it's Venus influencing these placements as they make this supportive sextile, the aspect of Venus. And I'm not going to say much more here. It underscores this idea of pleasure and sensuality this summer. I think it's one of the great opportunities this next summer is to enjoy this kind of Venus moment, especially particularly while Venus is direct before it goes retrograde. Early in the summer, you can really do some cool stuff in June. I'm looking forward to it. Arts, pleasure, friendships, connection, travel, if you're vacationing, beach, all of that stuff. The one thing I want to say here about the Jupiter-Saturn cycle, the Jupiter-Saturn cycle gives us more specific years to analyze when we think about Saturn and Pisces. And this is the 64 a bunch of there's one stint in 64 and then another stint in late 64, first half of 65 or first few months of 65, where you have the same Jupiter Saturn cycle. So this is that the early, again, the birth of that psychedelic culture. We're in the early phases, and so I'm very excited about culture in this decade. I think it's going to be fascinating what kind of art is created, and we're going to see the evidence of that emerge here with Jupiter in a Venus ruled sign, Saturn in a Venus ruled sign by exaltation. And so that gets me very, very excited. This was like film, much more color film by the end of the 60s. You had black and white shifting into color. Music was very clear, all the sonic technology. Beach Boys, I think, probably released an album. Maybe Pet Sounds, I'd have to get that release date up. I think that came maybe a little later, but they're developing the sound that becomes then their major sonic achievements. So that's the phase we are in with the Saturn Jupiter cycle. Very, very exciting. I need to go back and research 0506. I will do that at some point. Have not done that work yet. Okay, the final transit I want to talk about, 17 July. This is just Pluto square the true nodes, and it happens in Capricorn. And these are major fate points. Pluto can be the deep unseen, making itself known. The nodes of fate, we know what those are. So look for just some intensification there. This actually isn't an aspect I really look at too much, but I wanted to add it because I was doing the search. And anytime you have Pluto here, this will be with the south bending. I think it might be about processing this first little bit of Pluto in Aquarius. Now we kind of see the fate that's going to emerge, right? The fated emergences that are going to happen there. Actually, you know what? This is not Pluto with the south bending. This is the nodes ingress into Libra, Aries. So there's only two more transits left. And I'm going to kind of skip back in line here. Sorry. This is the nodal ingress into Aries, Libra. The only thing I want to say about it, I'll do major breakdowns about this one too, is that both the nodes are still ruled by Mars and Venus. You go from Scorpio, Taurus to Libra, Aries. Mars and Venus are still part of these fated turnings. So we're not out of the woods yet with the Mars-Venus stories in all of our charts. Check out the houses that this shifts into, because it gives a more day-sect focus. It's the Mars and Venus on the outer world. Now our fate maybe can be more applied in terms of putting to use the lessons of the Scorpio, Taurus. And now we can maybe have more fated changes here with like putting that to use in the outer world with an air sign and a fire sign. That's just one way to look at it. This will have to be a deep breakdown as well. And I'll just say this, the eclipses in 2022 also beyond the scope of this video, but there's one in each of these signs, one in Taurus, one in Scorpio, one in Libra, one in Aries. So all of the Mars Venus signs will get an eclipse next year. And that's pretty cool because it very much does bring into the forefront Mars and Venus, planets of sex, planets of relationships, planets of passion, planets of pleasures. Mars may be more destabilized forms of those things. And Venus may be more, what can we say about Venus when it's compared to Mars? Venus they're very similar. I'll just say that, but Venus might be more, less dynamic in a certain way, less forceful, maybe is the best way to say that. Okay, let me just move out here. The next little thing I wanted to show you, the last time the nodes were in this axis, 2004 through 2006, all of 2005 and the first half of 2006, I think of immediately as social media got more powerful, right? MySpace and Facebook started taking over things, and YouTube was more popular. That changed how we connect with each other and in a whole new way. And so I'm looking for that Pluto and Aquarius to maybe change social media with this nodal transit. It's also going to change, I think, the connectivity and continue to kind of give primacy to like these platforms of connectivity are going to be undergoing major change. It's the nodal return of all those early social media days. Won't say much more about it. I think the birth of the iPhone, actually, that was 2007. Okay. And then the final transit is Pluto square the nodes. I already talked about that. I'm not going to say anything else about it. I'm going to land the plane. So I just want to, this is my opening salvo in the conversation about 2023's astrology. I hope to do as many of these videos as I can with specific topics and specific things you would want me to research and look at. Like I said, each of these is a major research project. I mean, you could spend hours and hours really getting at the core of things. And that's the beauty of astrology. The more time you put in, the more you look, the more you find. And so I hope to do as much of that as I can. But those future videos aside, I hope this one can help you maybe plan a little bit. Remember, the main theme is pleasures and enjoyment, and that's those summer moments. And then it's this chunk of time before March, and then the chunk of time after July are these three. It's all the transformation takes place between March and July. Dynamic months here of 2023. Have a great year, and I hope to make another video very, very soon. Okay, take care.